So why did you hire all of them in the first place?
The Trump administration are scrambling as more people quit. It appears that the president has a problem with jobs, not just that he's not creating any.
You know, I just wanted to get your read on the economy as we see oil prices marching higher again. We have seen tremendous resilience, as you noted, from the consumer, but there are signs that the job market may be cracking a little bit. Got a weak job report last month. I'm curious about your assessment as to how much we can handle all of this.
I think the jobs numbers are quite noisy. And again, sir, the other thing that's important too is like the jobs that we're seeing are going to Americans. After the deportations that we've seen during President Trump's administration and the closing of the border.
Right.
But he can't keep his own aides employed as more and more Trump staffers are heading for the exits. I mean, just look at this week alone. Another major White House official is officially leaving just a couple days after top aide to Stephen Miller, Emily Underwood, joined the stream of Trump officials exiting the White House. The most prominent of them was announced recently, as we know, with House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
But I'll tell you this, Caroline Leavitt has been maybe the greatest White House press secretary in the last 30 years, at least. She's been nothing short of brilliant.
So if there were peaceful protests on Saturday for the militant parade, President Trump would allow that?
Of course the president supports peaceful protests. What a stupid question. I think it's insulting that you're trying to test my knowledge of economics. I'm now regret giving a question to the Associated Press. Okay, so you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat.
Bye, Felicia.
And the latest departure is James Braid, Donald Trump's Director of Legislative Affairs, and essentially his top White House liaison to Congress. Braid has been one of the people responsible for turning Trump's political demands into legislation. He was a central conduit between the White House and Republicans holding extremely narrow majorities in Congress, and he played a major role for Trump in passing his signature One Big Beautiful Bill Act. But as we know, there has been tension between the presidency and Congress over his SAVE Act. And now, with only about 75 days until the midterms, he's leaving also. And this comes immediately after another major departure, right? Deputy National Security Advisor Andy Baker, who worked closely with J.D. Vance and was involved in foreign policy, specifically in Iran negotiations. And in the middle of Trump's increasingly unpopular, increasingly prolonged Iran war, he also hits the bricks. I mean, what's happening?
She has certainly proven herself to him as someone who does his bidding very well. You know, she dodges, she attacks, she obfuscates. I think that the glowing reports about how well that she did, when a lot of it was just demeaning the press and taking a reasonable question. Yeah, I know you're excited, Charlie, but then making it out like people are insane, is not what you want in a press secretary. And I did want to review some of the mistruths, lies, whatever it was, from the podium. U.S. spending $50 million on condoms for Gaza. The Epstein files are a Democratic hoax. There are no war plans sent in the Signal chat with Jeffrey Goldberg. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a gang member, then producing no evidence of it. America is becoming more affordable under Trump, and that the federal aid freeze won't affect any individuals. That's just a small little list.
Now listen, people come and go during administrations, but everywhere, all together, all at once, you can't help but wonder if there's more going on inside the White House. The administration keeps losing experienced people at precisely the moment that it needs to at least project institutional stability, right? With the majority of the country looking at this administration and saying, you're not doing anywhere near enough for me or my family. You're not doing enough to bring down gas that Trump isn't apologizing for, and Fox News are trying to run cover.
When you have to pay a little bit more, you're at $4. It's okay. I mean, it's, I'll never apologize. I did the right thing. But you could, you know, if you didn't have, you'd be at, I mean, I had it down to below $2 in many states, but in California you can't include because they keep taxing. You lower the
So President Trump asking Americans for patience and paying a little bit more for gas, because the unified message from here is that gas prices will drop quickly once the operation's finished. The president says that he has to do this to make sure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. And before I toss back to you, yesterday we aired a graphic that showed gas prices incorrectly last year were $4.13 a gallon. They are in fact $3.13 a gallon. That's 90 cents more in the past year. The Trump administration says those gas prices will fall quickly once the operations in Iran ends. Now back to you.
Not doing enough to end the war that's no closer to being resolved, to make the cost of living more affordable. The only thing that appears to be getting done in the White House is the gold membering of innate objects in the Oval Office. And this is not just like a rough couple of weeks, right? There's now hard data that is showing that Trump's second administration is experiencing extraordinary senior level turnover. A review by the nonpartisan Partnership for Public Service found that in the first 18 months of Trump's second term, 27 Senate confirmed officials in cabinet departments had already departed. At the same point during Trump's first term, when he was firing a lot of people too, only 11.
In 2016, you said that. I'm going to surround myself with only the best and most serious people.
Well, I did do that.
This
and we
time,
had tremendous, look, we had the best economy we've ever had. The world has ever seen.
Your Vice President, Mike Pence, is running against you.
Yeah.
Your Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, she's running against you. Your former Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, said he's not supporting you. You mentioned National Security Advisor John Bolton. He's not supporting you either. You mentioned Attorney General Bill Barr, says you shouldn't be president again, calls you the consummate narcissist and troubled man. You recently called Barr a gutless pig. Your second defense secretary is not supporting you, called you irresponsible. This week, you and your White House called your White House Chief of Staff, John Kelly, weak and ineffective and born with a very small brain. You called your acting White House Chief of Staff, Mick Mulvaney, a born loser. You called your first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, dumb as a rock, and your first Defense Secretary, James Mattis, the world's most overrated general. You called your White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh Kennedy, milquetoast, and multiple times you've referred to your Transportation Secretary, Elaine Chao, as Mitch McConnell's China-loving wife. So, why did you hire all of them in the first place?
Because I hired 10 to 1 that were fantastic. We had a great economy. We had phenomenal people in charge of the economy. We had phenomenal people in the military. I'm not a fan of Milley, and I'm not a fan of certain of the television people. But I knocked out ISIS. I defeated ISIS. They said, Mattis, it would take 3 years, and I don't think we can do it. I did it in a period of like 4 weeks.
There's a lot of people who praise you for your policies. I just said that.
That's true. Well, I mean, you just went through a list. But don't forget, for every one you say, I had 10 that love us.
The average under Bush, Obama, and Joe Biden was just over 4. So Trump 2.0 has lost more than 6 times the average number of Senate-confirmed officials seen under the previous presidents at the same time. Only department with more departures seems to be the military, and that's a whole other can of worms that Hegseth would rather keep closed while cracking open a can of Bud Light instead. And the timing is horrendous, right? For this administration, Republicans are already heading towards a very grim looking November with Trump's approval rating at the lowest level of his second presidency, with Trump voters themselves questioning their allegiance to the president, and the prolonged Iran war is a major part of the deterioration, right? A huge majority of Americans now believe that the war will continue to drag on. And you have Fox chief military advisors. They're the ones out here adding fuel to the fire.
I mean, I don't understand any of this stuff. There's some, I want to talk in a moment about some decent news, but I didn't understand any of this stuff. It's very confusing, and it seems to some extent that we were not at the top of our game in dealing with Iran.
Your reaction to how they've done?
Yeah, well, look, anything that happens within a 24-hour period is noise. And, you know, I think that once the market understands that we are focusing on fiscal consolidation and that we are trying to bring the market back into equilibrium in a thinly traded market, I think, you know, I'm confident that bonds will continue declining. We've got a spike in oil prices today that I don't really understand. You know, our announcement is for economic action. And I think that the economic action will mean that oil prices will come down sooner.
And we've already covered how there are several Republican members dropping out of races as we head to the midterms. Republican senators have privately described Trump as a potential midterm liability. And you even have Fox increasingly airing criticism of Trump's Iran strategy and showing their own polling that he hates, of course, and calls for them to just not do it.
He's right. The challenge for him and for the president is the most obvious way to make people's lives better right now, according to voters themselves, is to bring cost of living down in this country, something that they're not really managing to do yet.
Right. Well, and as I said in my column yesterday in the Wall Street Journal, you start by not gaslighting. The president made a mistake, in my opinion, last week saying we've got the greatest economy in the history of the world, and prices for groceries and gasoline and everything are coming down rapidly. That's not the experience of the American people.
His approval, though, is falling, and now experienced officials inside the administration itself keep walking away. So each of these stories only further reinforces the other.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.